Okay,
Whenever
thank
you.
you. As the Monty Pythons would say, and now for something completely different. We will talk about Melitaea, a group where you have several species which are easy to identify, but of course also some problematic species which I'll hope to clear up what's valuable characteristics and what is not. Again, it will be split into smaller groups of species which are similar. So if there will be any questions, we can discuss this after each of these identifications. We start with species which have, at least usually have the series of black spots in the submarginal part of the hind wing. And first of these is Melitaea 𝘠𝘦𝘭𝘪𝘢, which has a relatively limited range in Europe, and it's more widespread than in Eastern Ukraine and the Caucasus region, and also in southern part of Russia. In Europe, it flies from northwestern Greece through to southern Romania, where it was recently discovered near 𝘰𝘪𝘵𝘢, and also in many parts of Bulgaria. It is not really a habitat specialist because it flies in different grasslands, which are usually partly overgrown, or it can fly also along road verges in more wooded areas. And it also commonly comes to mud puddle, so that's another interesting characteristic. Adults fly usually from end May, maybe in Greece already mid-May, to early August in a single generation. Usually June is best month. In August it's really difficult to find them. The only other species in Europe which also has this series of black submarginal spots is Melitaea 𝘤𝘕𝑥𝑖𝑎, which is, as you can see, more widespread, present even in some Mediterranean islands and reaching southern part of Scandinavia and southern part of United Kingdom. It is a grassland species which also prefers a little bit of overgrowing and also some open areas where the host plants, either Veronica or Plantago, are growing. So also the larvae prefer areas where the plants are not covered by other plants, so in more open places. The species is usually in a single generation, although sometimes second generation appears at least in southwestern France, and they fly from end April to early July, depending also on the altitude. Then another species which has at least part of these spots sometimes present and similar wing shape, that's Melitaea ornata. That's a relatively recent discovery in Europe, although it was known as a subspecies in Pannonian Basin already for more than 50 years. Melitaea ornata has really this disjunct distribution again. Recently, it was discovered also in Iberian Peninsula, where genetics show that it's probably a separate species, which is called pseudo-ornata. It's also present in southern Italy. One record is also from southeast France, close to the Alps, but I'm not sure if it was rediscovered there. Then the larger part of its range is in the Balkans, where it's present along the Dalmatian coast up to Slovenia. in southern Balkans, in Macedonia and Greece, and isolated population, as I mentioned before, in Pannonian Basin in the Buk, usually, I think just in the Buk Mountains and the neighboring Slovakian mountains. The species is more thermophilous compared to the similar Melitaea 𝘱𝘭𝘫, but I wouldn't say it's a habitat specialist. It's again present in different types of partly overgrown grasslands, even pastures, and it utilizes a wide variety of host plants from Asteraceae family. Usually it is a 𝘰𝘳𝘯𝘀𝘢𝑚 species, but I think at least 7 other genera are known to be utilized. Regarding the volatinism, it was at the beginning thought that this is a monovoltine species which flies from end April to somewhere in the beginning of June. And that's the case at least in the northern part of its range, so in Croatia, Slovenia, and Hungary. But in the south, at least in my own experience, it can form second generation also in the Balkans, and definitely so in Spain. But as I said, that might be a separate species. And the last of the group is Melitaea 𝘱𝘭𝘫, which is much more widespread compared to Melitaea ornata, but also it must be said that the distribution of both species is not clear, especially not in the Iberian Peninsula, but also elsewhere, because the species are not so easy to identify, and many of the records of Melitaea 𝘱𝘭𝘫 could be also of Melitaea ornata, because it was not previously known that the other species is present in Europe. And they basically utilize the same habitats, but sometimes can occur also in more mesophilic and even humid grasslands compared to Melitaea ornata. And they have at least 2, but usually 3 generations from end of April to early September, sometimes even a little bit later. I know that even here in Slovenia, they sometimes fly also in October. Okay, so let's see what are the main difference between Arduina, 𝘤𝘳𝘯𝘀, and 𝘱𝘭𝘫, and we'll deal with 𝘱𝘭𝘫 ornata separately. Melitaea arduina is larger than 𝘤𝘳𝘯𝘀. It has broader wings, and the ground color of the upper side is more reddish, more fulvous, brighter. So even in flight, it's very different from Melitaea 𝘤𝘳𝘯𝘀. And the post-discal spots, especially in female, are really prominent. Females are variable in the coloration, usually paler, with paler spots than males, but can also be quite reddish. So this is one form, and it could be also relatively reddish, so more similar to the males. In Melitaea 𝘤𝘳𝘯𝘀, the wing shape is more pointed, the wings are narrower, and the ground color is more dull or more orange compared to more reddish in Arduina. And the female usually is just of this yellowish form. So the yellow part of the wing is quite uniform. It's not variable as in the female of Melitaea arduina. And then you have Melitaea 𝘱𝘵𝘢, which is really rarely with well-developed submarginal spots, like in this case, in this male. Usually these are lost, and they are present also only on the underside, and even then they're not regularly. So the spots, the four basal spots are probably the only ones which are well visible in Melitaea 𝘱𝘵𝘢. They are also present in 𝘠𝘪𝘢, but 𝘠𝘪𝘢 has additional spots as well as Melitaea 𝘔𝘳𝘦𝘭𝘪𝘢. And the ground color is again variable, both in males and females. So that's how you distinguish Melitaea 𝘱𝘵𝘢 ornata from the other two. And to distinguish between Melitaea ornata and Melitaea 𝘱𝘵𝘢, the best way is to see the larvae, as the 𝘤𝘪𝘯𝘀 and older larvae have red head in Melitaea ornata and black head in Melitaea 𝘱𝘵𝘢. They can utilize the same host plants, but if you see the color of the head, you know which species it is. But obviously there are also some characteristics which are very useful in determination of adults. One of it is that the antennal club is more spoon-like, so spatulate. So it's much wider in Melitaea ornata compared to Melitaea 𝘱𝘵𝘢, which has a more classic club-like last part of the antenna. That's quite a characteristics that is quite stable. So if you see the antenna, that's a very useful information. The other is on the underside of both wings, the submarginal black lines are actually spots in Melitaea ornata. That's well seen in the apical part of the forewing underside, but also on the hind wing. So you basically have separate spots which are thick. They can be arrow-shaped or even rounded in some cases. So it's not a line, but separate spots. While in Melitaea 𝘱𝘵𝘢, these spots are linked together to form sort of a wavy line on both wings, and much narrower compared to Melitaea ornata. These marginal spots are not submarginal. There is sometimes a problem, especially in second generation of Melitaea 𝘱𝘵𝘢, that these marginal lines are really reduced. And then you get a pattern where you don't have a wavy line, but separate tiny lines in each space between the veins. So it's superficially similar to Melitaea ornata, but these lines are really narrow. So that's the main difference then. So they can be disjunct, but if they are narrow, then this is definitely a good sign that you are seeing the second generation of Melitaea 𝘱𝘵𝘢. That's the characteristics that I usually check when I compare these species. Okay, so this is the first group of Melitaeas. Any questions?
Yes, Rudi, one question is about if this applies also to 𝘳𝘪𝘅. If these characteristics you are explaining from ornata applies to the other species.
Not that much. No, yeah, I would say that at least the border, the marginal spots are separate also in 𝘤𝘪𝘏𝘪𝘢, but the pattern on the upper side is really variable in 𝘤𝘪𝘏𝘪𝘢. So it's more comparable to 𝘊𝘵𝘵 than to ornata. I didn't mention this characteristic. I don't even show it, but especially in males of Melitaea ornata, the coloration, the ground coloration, so these fulvous areas are not variable, so they are just uniform orange, while in Melitaea 𝘊𝘵𝘵 you can see here they are really variable. So it's on the upper side it appears more like Melitaea 𝘔𝘦𝘭𝘪𝘵𝘢, the males of ornata. But this is not characteristics of 𝘤𝘪𝘏𝘪𝘢. So I don't also have any personal experience with 𝘤𝘪𝘏𝘪𝘢, so it just from the description.
Yeah, it's something recent also. There is no full information about the distribution. Probably it's also in Portugal. So still things to discover and research.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so you can continue. Thank you.
Okay, let's go on. Now we go to the spotted Melitaea, so those which have many more spots on the underside and also on the upper side of the wings. There are just 2 species in Europe, much more in Asia, where this is a really problematic group, but in Europe it's relatively easy. Melitaea didyma is the most widespread among this type of Melitaeas, present throughout the Mediterranean and also some Mediterranean islands, and reaching Northern Europe, but not Scandinavia, and also not the British islands. Its distribution then continues into Asia, where there are also many different subspecies described. So it's a very variable species. It usually prefers drier grasslands, but it's also present in humid grasslands, usually in those where there is no intensification. So they are quite sensitive to intensification of the grasslands. They fly from mid-May to September, usually in 3 generations, further north in 2 generations, which are also a little bit different. And the other species, relatively smaller and with a not that wide range, is Melitaea trivia, which, as you can see, is present also in northern part of northern half of the Iberian Peninsula, also in Sierra Nevada, and then in the Western Alps, and continuous range from Italian Peninsula through the Balkans and part of southern Central Europe into Ukraine, Russia, and then Asia. This species is more thermophilous, usually present in more rockier grassland, dry grasslands, also in some overgrown areas, but usually in close to some screes or other open areas where the host plant verbascum is present. Also along road verges, which can be important habitat for the species. And they fly from late April to mid-August, sometimes even September, in 2 generations. This is habitat in Slovenia, where I've seen it last year in the second half of September, so maybe partial 3rd generation. Okay, let's go to a species which is completely different from the 2, but I've joined it here because it's easy to recognize. That's Melitaea asteria, the smallest of Melitaeas in Europe, also elsewhere. This is the species which is limited to the Central and Eastern Alps, but only the non-calcareous parts. So it's present usually in high alpine grasslands with short grasses and with rocky outcrops. Also preferring areas where there is at least some nectar sources present. They fly from late June to August, depending on the altitudes and, of course, on snow cover. And the last species I joined into this group is Melitaea diamina, which is more similar to Atalia group, but still easily recognizable compared to the others, at least. Melitaea diamina is usually present in humid grasslands or meadows, but it is present also in dry grasslands, at least if the host plants, that's valeriana mostly, are present. It is also one of the few species of Melitaeas that can or is present in the box and moorland areas. Its distribution is from northern Iberian Peninsula through Central Europe and parts of southern Scandinavia into temperate parts of Ukraine, Russia, and also Western Siberia. And they fly in two quite distinct generations. So one is usually in end of May to June, and the second one is from mid-July to August. Okay, now determination. Of course, the only pair of species which is difficult to distinguish is Melitaea didyma and Melitaea trivia, but even that is generally not problematic. Maybe a little bit in Spain because there is a different subspecies, but in most of Europe, the characteristic you will easily see is that in Melitaea didyma, on the hind wings, in the submarginal area, you have black spots. They are discrete. Maybe it's not well seen here, but there are discrete black spots in otherwise orange or even reddish ground color. While in Melitaea trivia, it's the other way around. So the submarginal area is dark with distinct, separate orange lunules. So generally, if you see this characteristic both in males and females, you can easily say or recognize Melitaea trivia. Other characteristic is that in Melitaea trivia, the black spots in the central part of the wing are also more pronounced, especially in females compared to Melitaea didyma. And the underside, which is most commonly quoted difference, is that the marginal black spots on the hind wing are rounded in Melitaea didyma, while in trivia they are more triangular, especially in this part of the wing. So here the spots can be also a little bit more rounded. So anyway, I usually look at this character, preferring this to the underside. Okay, Melitaea asteria is the smallest one, really distinctly smaller compared to other Melitaeas, even to Melitaea varia, with which I'm not sure if they fly together, but they fly in the similar habitat. And the main characteristic is that they don't have a split between the marginal band and the submarginal white lunals. So this is uniform. While in, let's say, other Melitaeas from this group, there you have a marginal border and then submarginal lunals, which can be of different color, like also, for example, in Melitaea diamina. Melitaea diamina, compared to Melitaea atalia and other species which are more similar to it than to Asteria, is usually much darker and has a well-pronounced checkered edge, so black and white is well visible on both wings. And on the underside, there is a big distinction between the marginal belt, which is much darker than the submarginal lunals. Okay, so that's for these 4 species. Any questions?
No questions. So it seems they all know all these species.
Or they're already tired. Yeah. Okay.
Also.
Okay. Let's move on now.
Let's move on.
The last group. Okay. Then we have the Melitaeas, which are usually problematic in for the determination, because it includes 𝘔𝘪𝘠𝘪, Aurelia, and Atalia group. The only species which is relatively easy to recognize is Melitaea varia, which also has a much more limited range compared to the other species. It's actually an alpine species, usually present above 1,000 meters, with disjunct distribution in parts of the Apennines in peninsular part of Italy, and mostly limited to the western and central part of the Alps, so not present in the eastern. It prefers more flower-rich and tall grass associations in the mountains. So it's present both in alpine and subalpine belt, and usually there is also abundance of the host plant, so either Gentiana or Gentianella are present. They fly from late May to July, depending on the altitudes. Okay, Melitaea aurelia. It's, let's say, Central European species which reaches also Greece in the south, and northern Baltic states in the north, and then also has distribution into Central Asia. They are present in different types of unimproved grasslands, but usually in the dry grasslands, not really limited by the host plants. They fly usually in a single generation in early June to August, but there are some known cases where the second generation in late September is also present. Similar in size, but usually a little bit darker, is Melitaea 𝘔𝘪𝘠𝘪, which doesn't reach that far west as Aurelia. It's present in northern Italy through southern Germany to Poland. Then in the Balkan Peninsula, where it's very limited, it's not really clear what's the distribution of the species. For example, in Serbia, there are no confirmed records. I'm not sure if there are any for Greece, but they're supposed to be there. And then again, species has wider range through the southern Russia and Ukraine. They utilize almost the same habitats as Melitaea aurelia, so that's not really useful. But sometimes they can be present in humid grasslands where aurelia do not occur. But then they are, of course, together with Melitaea thalia. They fly from late May to August in a prolonged generation. No real indication that there is a second generation anywhere, as far as I know. And Melitaea thalia, the most widespread species in Europe. It has a sister species which flies in the west and southwest of Europe and most of Italy. That's Melitaea 𝘰𝘪𝘵𝘢, but that will be probably shown in some other class. Melitaea thalia is otherwise present throughout the Balkans, most of Scandinavia, including some locations in southern UK, and its range reaches Urals in the east. It's not a habitat specialist. It prefers unimproved grasslands, although some level of fertilization it can tolerate. That's also why it's more widespread. It's also present in more overgrown habitats compared to 𝘰𝘪𝘵𝘢 and aurelia. So it's more resistant to overgrowing as well. They fly from mid-May to September, usually in a single generation, but if they fly in September, that's a sign that there is a second generation in the area. Okay. And now for the last information about how to distinguish these species, let's start with Melitaea varia, which is the smallest of the four species here. Also present, also because probably it's present at higher altitudes. There are two important characteristics which distinguish Melitaea varia from these species, but also from Melitaea partenoides, which is West European species. One is that in this area, in the central part of the forewing, the fulvous spots are merged. So you have at least two or sometimes three longer lines instead of separate spots like you have here in, for example, in Melitaea aurelia. So if you see merging of these spots, then it's very likely you're looking at Melitaea varia. That's not that well pronounced in females. It can be, but it's not necessary so. But the females are really strongly suffused with gray. So if you see them with open wings, you will see it's quite different from other species of Melitaea, at least in the Alps. And the second important characteristic is the median band, which is distinctly white compared to the other parts of the hind wing. It could be said that it's pearly white because it's almost shiny white. And that's characteristic which is a little bit less pronounced, but still present also in females. So combination of these characteristics should be enough to distinguish Melitaea varia from other Melitaea species. Okay, then we go to Melitaea aurelia. Melitaea aurelia is also a relatively small butterfly, at least compared to Melitaea thalia. It has a really uniform look on the upper side, meaning that the color of the fulvous spots is identical all over the wing, and also the pattern is quite regular. So these spots are of equal size here also, so it looks neat, I would say, the upper side. On the underside, at least in fresh specimens, you can also see this much paler white median band, not really pearly white, it's not shiny, but it's much whiter than the other parts of the wing. But this is also only seen in fresh specimens. Another characteristic of the upper side is that in both sexes, when the butterflies are fresh, you can see some golden reflection on the upper side when they sit. That's not present in any other Melitaea in Europe. And then one of the important characteristics is also the combination of the coloration of the marginal band and submarginal lunules. The marginal band is usually slightly darker than the lunules which are inside. But this has been shown to be somewhat variable in or complex of species Aurelia, Britomartis, and Atalia. So not 100% clue for determination of Melitaea aurelia. Another characteristics which is often mentioned also in literature is the color of the palpi. Not, of course, you don't see it here on these drawings, but at least in females of Melitaea aurelia, the palpi should be completely red. So the basal color should be red, and also the hairs on palpi are reddish or red. This is never present in females of other two species, although in Britomartis they can be reddish, more brownish, but at least some hairs are darker, even black. So anyhow, this characteristic used to be very useful, but it seems that it's not so. You can still check the females for that, but preferably you look at this median band, the combination of marginal and submarginal lunules, and the more regular pattern on upper side. Melitaea britomartis is similarly sized to Melitaea aurelia, sometimes co-occurring with the species. It has smaller fulvous spots on the upper side, therefore it appears darker. There are also some local forms of subspecies which are very dark, even comparable to Melitaea diamina. And the underside of the hind wing also in general appears darker. The median band is not distinctly whiter compared to the other parts of the wing, and the outer margin is much darker compared to the lunules, or in most cases it is much darker. This is usually the best characteristic to distinguish Melitaea aurelia, Britomartis, and Atalia. Although there are some cases in Britomartis where there is no such distinction, so they look very similar to Melitaea Atalia. Therefore, I wrote down here that genital dissection is much recommended, especially if you're doing some regular transects in location. Then it's better to collect some males and check the genitalia, so you at least know which species you have at the location. Okay, now Melitaea Atalia, larger than all three other species usually, but of course size can be variable, and especially second generation Melitaea Atalia can be relatively small in some places. But the pattern of the fulvous spots is irregular, with different shapes, even different colors, especially in females. That's something that's not present in any other species. And Also, invariably in Melitaea thalia, the lunals and the marginal area are of equal color, so there's no distinction in color between marginal band and some marginal lunals. Okay, and that's it about this group. So I suppose there will be some questions regarding this, because it's not an easy group.
I don't see questions. I assume people are, thinking about the questions maybe.
Yeah, we can wait a little bit.
We can wait a bit, a little bit. Definitely, it's a very, very tough group, and genitalia dissection again, no, like in the case of Leptidia, is the most recommended method.
Yeah, the genitalia are very easy to distinguish the species, but again, in males, better males than females.
Exactly.
Because they have a completely different shape of the uncus, the three species. In Aurelia, you have almost non-existent, they are really reduced, and in 𝘰𝘂𝘪𝘵 they are short with a pointed end, while in Melitaea thalia they are long, elongated. So even that can even be seen in adult in live specimens if you squeeze the genitalia out. But I prefer not to do it, because it's better to collect some specimens to have proof.
Yes. Exactly.
I don't really like to squeeze butterflies' abdomens.
Yeah, I did it with plebeius, Idas and Argus. You squeeze a bit and you see the vulva. With the dentition, no? With the But it's better sometimes to collect.
It can be done, but I'm not sure if these butterflies can reproduce after that. So
sadly,
it doesn't really matter.
All right. I think no one is asking. I have to say that, well, first of all, thank you very much, Rudi, for the brilliant talk. I think it was excellent, perfect to start a series of talks about this difficult genus of the butterflies in Europe. I think it was also sort of like a trip to see different locations, different species. So I really personally enjoyed. I have to say that this talk will be posted both in YouTube and Pollinator Academy, so people can go back and see slowly again everything. I have now two questions. I knew when I was trying to say goodbye, I will have some questions. Okay, let's go through them. No, I have one question. Do you have a taxonomic view on trivia that occurs isolated in Spain?
Yeah, I don't have a personal opinion, but I know that the Villa group is now promoting this to be a separate species, because it's genetically quite distinct, and also morphology is a bit different. So there is no such dark border in the Spanish population, at least not so visible. You have to look at the underside.
Yeah, indeed. I was checking photos of a trivia from Greece and a trivia from Spain, and they really look different. So the rest of the comments are basically thanking for the talk. I think with that we can conclude and close the talk. As I said, this will be posted. Everyone could go back and check in detail all these descriptions and tips for the butterflies. I have to say also, for your information, that we will have another masterclass next week, the 17th of February, also at 3 Central Europe time, and it will be, in this case, Chris Van Zwaay, talking about Atlantic butterfly species. So I hope to see you there. I don't know if something else. Do you want to add something else, Rudy?
Yeah, I would just like to thank you, everybody, to join me and to survive until the end of my talk. And of course, I have to thank also Richard Levington and Martin Warren, who helped me to arrange with him that we can have this wonderful pictures of butterflies, drawings of butterflies, which are better than any photograph.
Indeed. Exactly.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Rudy.
you.
It was really great to have 2 hours listening to difficult species. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone, and see you next week, probably.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.